Welcome to week 12, everybody. If you're new here, hi, welcome to This Cat Can Ball, the show where we feature one player each week who's largely been unknown either to riding the bench, being drafted late, or in some cases not even drafted at all. But they decided to show up this week and we're going to shine a little spotlight on them. So normally this is where we'd be about 3/4 of the way through the season, about there, but unfortunately 17 is a prime number, so we're not going to get a definitive 2/3 of the way or 3/4 of the way through. However, there's some interesting things to look at. There's some trends that have been happening just recently, and I'm not talking about things that just happen week to week. Sometimes there are fluke wins, fluke losses, giant touchdown plays that no one sees coming. No, I'm talking about trends that develop over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and there have been some that have been going on, and they've been the difference between whether a team is going to be a contender or a pretender. Let's talk about in the past 2 weeks, two teams that are still very competitive, more than likely will make the playoffs and are leading their respective divisions, but the past 2 weeks have started a trend with them. The Cowboys at one time were 7-2. They're now 7-4. They are still, like I said, leading their division, but this is a bit of an odd spell for them considering they've been pretty solid all year. On the flip side, on the other conference, the Ravens were 1-6-3, and that AFC North 2 weeks ago was really competitive considering they were all, and they still are all above 500, all four teams. They were 6-3, they are now 8-3, and they're looking to be the number one seed in the AFC. Let's take it back one more week. 3 weeks ago, the Rams were 7-1. They were sitting pretty, looking like they were going to run the table on the NFC. They have since lost 3 games, 7-4. And people are looking for answers because they did spend a lot of money to go out and get the best players. So that's not looking good for them. Especially on the flip side of that coin, a team that has won 3 is in their own division. The San Francisco 49ers, who were once 3-5, are now 6-5. They're right on the Rams' tail, and they're looking to make a push in the NFC West to maybe even take that division from the Rams. And if we push it even one more week back to look at a 4-week trend, the once written off Kansas City Chiefs, feels weird to say that because the Chiefs have just been a powerhouse the past few years, right? But at one time they were 3-4, and it was thought that maybe Patrick Mahomes has run out of magic. But no, they've won 4 straight, up to 7-4. They are in the running for AFC first seed. There are actually a few teams that are very competitive for that one spot. But now the Chiefs, who were once under 500, are sitting pretty well at 7-4. And once again, on the flip side, in the other conference, a team that was looking pretty strong, the New Orleans Saints were 5-2, which is really a great thing to see since obviously the biggest thing going into the year was they don't have Drew Brees, right? Hall of Fame player, the face of the franchise. But they had Jameis Winston. He went down for the season, and that was very instrumental in why they've lost 4 straight. They've gone from 5-2 to 5-6 and are being pushed further and further into that NFC wildcard spot. And one more team I'd like to mention, just kind of a wild card since we're talking about weekly trends. In the past 4 weeks, there's actually one more team that has won 4 straight. You won't believe it because no one really pays attention to them. But the Miami Dolphins, at one point they were 1-7, and people just kind of smiled and said, it's just vintage Dolphins, right? 1-7, that's the way they go. But no, 4 straight wins, 5-7. They're looking to get up into that wild card race. Some teams don't like being down in that muddled mass of teams just, waiting towards the end of the season, needing this team to win, this team to lose, this team to tie, just so they can get that last spot. But now the Dolphins are slowly creeping in there, and good for them, right? But going back to competitive teams, one of them is the Cincinnati Bengals, who did a great job crushing one of their division rivals, the Pittsburgh Steelers, this past week. I saw a play there that reminded me of something that's been a big trend in the NFL for, I don't know, maybe even 20 years now, or if you really want to get technical, it's been going on since the 70s. The notion that quarterbacks are just a lot more protected than any other player, and everybody knows it, and there are certain things you just kind of have to grit your teeth and accept, even though it shouldn't be done this way. There was one play, Joe Burrow ran for a touchdown. And granted, Joe Burrow is an athletic guy, right? He's not just a statue in the pocket. He's young and athletic, and he made the play. But if you watch it again, even though he did a football move and got in the end zone, when I saw that play, I saw it live. When he got to about the 10-yard line, I knew that was a touchdown. I knew for a fact that the Steelers defense wasn't going to act on Joe Burrow as if he was a regular ball carrier. Like if that was Joe Mixon or T. Higgins, anyone else, they were going to light him up. They were going to play very aggressive the way a goal line defense would. But they knew that we can't do this because if I go after him, more than likely I'm going to get a fine going my way. I'm going to get a penalty. So they had to ease off. And what's more, when you really look at it, Joe Burrow wasn't necessarily geared up to go in for a hit. So it would have made the hit look all that more vicious. You know what I mean? This reminds me of a play where Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if you guys remember this from the playoffs about it, a few years back, he went in on a long scramble. And if you watch it, when he gets inside the 5, the defenders just have to let him score. They know that we can't hit this guy. First off, he's not gearing up for a hit. So if I go after him, I'm going to light him up. He's going to lose the ball. He's probably going to lose his helmet. I might break something on him. And I'm going to be in a world of trouble because first off for my team, the immediate consequence is I'm going to get ejected. There's going to be a flag on the play. They're going to get the ball right here on the goal line. And the next day, he may even get suspended and he's going to get fined just because you can't do that. And quarterbacks know that. I guarantee you, it's a great play for the Chiefs. It really helped the team. But Mahomes knew when he got down to that part of the field, and Joe Burrow knew when he got down to that part of the field, these guys they're going to take it easy on me. More than likely, I'm going to get a score. It gets on my nerves just a little bit because other players like, let's say, Cam Newton or Ben Roethlisberger, some of the other really big guys that have made a career of being beaten up, they go for it and they get concussions, they get bent face masks, they get broken bones and everything. And it's okay because that's just the way they play. To be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure where I'm going with this, but it really set off an alarm in my head that this is something that everybody knows. It's just no one's talking about it. They knew, like I said, when I saw him get to about the 10-yard line, I knew it. He was gone. That's it. The same way Mahomes, when he was going for that playoff touchdown run, the defenders knew, they were saying it in their head with gritted teeth. We gotta let him score because we'll get in trouble. It's just a damn shame, but that's how, when you're at that elite level, you get a little bit of extra protection, you know what I mean? But on the flip side, there is one guy that I want to talk about this week who is the cat that showed us he could ball. He is actually on the very flip side of being an elite player, and he didn't have that huge background that some of these guys have. He didn't come from a huge school. He actually went to SFA. If no one knows where that is, I don't blame you because there's only a few people will know Stephen F. Austin University, the Lumberjacks. It's a very small school. I couldn't really say if they put out any other NFL players besides this guy, maybe a handful. But his name is John Franklin Myers. He's a defensive end for the New York Jets. And believe it or not, he actually got drafted in 4th round with the Rams 2 years ago before making his way on to the New York Jets team. There's a real interesting story about him too because this guy definitely had to work extra hard. I've talked about other players in the past that do, but this guy's a little unique in the sense that he went to Greenville High School in Texas, and for his entire 4 years, his team was 0-40. He didn't know what winning was until he got to college, which is saying something for SFA to have some faith in him, you know what I mean? To say, this guy is not coming from a good program, but he's good enough that we're going to give him a scholarship to come to this school. And he even did well enough at that level, SFA, to get drafted into the NFL. That's one hell of a feat in itself. So he goes into this week playing the Houston Texans, and granted, that's not the biggest opponent to face, right? It's not like talking about you're going up against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, but they're an NFL team, right? So how does he do for the game? 2 sacks and an interception. That's pretty rare for a defensive end. When you get something like that, those numbers are reserved for the Myles Garrett and the TJ Watts. But this guy gets 2 sacks and 1 interception. Now, that's pretty good, right? But this award this week is not just for the week, it's for his season because he came from a not good high school program, a very small college, and then he's now on a team that no one's talking about the Jets, right? So no one knows that this guy right now, he has 6 sacks already on the season. We are quasi 2/3, quasi 3/4 through the season, 6 sacks. Very likely that he's going to get the double-digit sack. And when you get the double-digit sacks, that is beyond just good NFL starter. That's Pro Bowler. And I bring this up because I've had players on this show that have won the award before, and then the next week, and then pretty much for the rest of the season, they kind of disappeared. It's kind of they were kind of a flash in the pan. But this guy, aside from this week where he's being honored, he's done well all season. And he's likely going to cap off a good season where he's starting 17 games now, right? So it's not so much this cat can ball for this week. And so far through 11 games, even though most of us haven't been watching, I think probably all the Jets coaches know, they look at him and they know
this cat can ball, man.
So that's going to wrap up the show for this week, folks. I hope you really liked it. If you do, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. The show comes out every week. The bell will notify you just in case you forget. Make sure to leave a comment if there was something you like or didn't like or like to see changed. Other than that, just one more time, like, comment, subscribe. I am Omar, and I will see you guys next week.